Little girl, good morning.
Morning.
How are you?
I'm fine.
What is your name?
My name is Adongo.
Which school do you study from?
Lira Central.
Lira Central. Who inspired you to run?
Dibaba from Ethiopia.
Yeah, Dibaba from Ethiopia. What do you tell your fans from outside there?
I tell them that I will win the gold medal and I want you guys to be proud of me. Everybody in this world to be proud of me. This is a promise that I am going to win the gold medal. And I want you people to be proud of me and Uganda and Lang.
Hello, viewers. Today I am joined by Mr. Mario PISANI.
Good evening.
Who is the coach, of Adongo Godwin. I would like to welcome to the studio, Mr. Mario.
Hi, everyone. Good evening.
Okay.
I'm Mario PISANI from Malta.
Okay, please. I would like you to introduce yourself to our audience so that they can get to know you better.
Okay, so I am Mario PISANI. I am 50 years old now. I am in coaching since way back in 1995, so it's 30 years into coaching now, part-time. I started gradually with some children, and then eventually I made it also to the national team, mainly as steeplechase coach. I am the reference coach for my country for the steeplechase, but I've been also studying along the way in these past 30 years. I have been in Africa, in Kenya, for the IAAF coaching course, up level 3 with Mr. Thompson at that time as well. So it's a long story. I mean, it would be more than a program to fill it, for sure.
Okay. Thank you for the one that you've given us. But I do understand that you're doing all this from Malta. Yeah, so your country is Malta, so that our audience can understand where you are and then what you're doing.
Malta's, for those who not are aware, it's just very small island, just below Italy.
Okay.
It's in Europe. Basically that. I mean, then check on the map.
Okay, that's fantastic. So we did this interview with John Akii Bua's, son and granddaughter last week. I want you to tell us, how did you get in touch with them? How did you meet them? How did you get involved, with the Akii Bua's family and the story of Godwin Adongo?
Well, it was, if I recall exactly, it was in 2022, more or less in the beginning. I think it was January, February. I don't remember exactly precisely, but it was 2022 for sure. I got my message, on Messenger at that time. Just a short introduction. Would you like to help my daughter? Sort of. I didn't know who she was, and that came after. So then a lot of questions, sort of. Okay, but how we can do this? He told me that she has potential. Then it comes up that her granddad was an Olympic. Then I checked about so who he was, all that stuff, sort of.
Okay, that's a good story. So, do you know why he picked you out in particular to help with the daughter?
Well, when I got a bit of information, the first thing I did, at that time she was still 9. I was 9-year-old, so the first thing I told him, listen, she's 9. She's going through a development process because she's young. Eventually, she needs to grow up, be a woman, etc. So there's no hurry. We can't pretend anything at athlete at 9. Because if you have a top athlete at 9, then it's a big question mark at the age of 20. It could be a dropout, fed up. No one can say what happens. So one has to be realistic. After that, short of discussing, starting something very simple, just some light jog, some easy running strides. Then we did a test. The test, went very well as well. She was at the age of 9. She was running already 400 meters in 1 minute 14 seconds, just to
Wow.
get you an idea. At the age of 9.
Wow.
Yesterday she did in 61.
61 seconds.
61 seconds. That was yesterday.
Wow. Wow. That is a talent. That is a talent.
That's when you say it's a talent. In fact, following this feedback yesterday, I told him, listen, she stands somewhere between 400 meters or up to 1.5.
Okay.
That's based on the feedback I got.
Oh, okay. That's great. You told me that when they got in touch with you, you did a research about who, they were. Before that, did you know anything about Adongo's grandfather, who is John Akii Bua?
To be honest, no, because, it happened sort of out of the blues, and then one goes home and starts checking.
Oh, okay. So when you checked, what was your impression of John Akii Bua? What did you like about his story?
I said, wow. And then there was also a film, a documentary film, which a good 1 hour, 20 minutes something long, which is, I said, wow, it's a dramatic story in itself, because, a talented, but with a tragedy, a talent that could be even flourishing much more, but was denied for various reasons, which is, it's not my issue to discuss this, but as an outsider, it was a talent that could give more to Uganda in particular, and even for Africa, but then it was denied too soon.
Now that you know about John Akii Bua, Munich, 1972.
Yes, in Munich.
In Munich, yeah. And
it was the same year of the Israel attack.
And he became world champion. Actually, the first Olympic gold medalist for Uganda. And he was the first world champion in hurdles.
Exactly.
At the Olympics. So, working with Godwin Adongo, who is the granddaughter, do you see something that is, common between both of them in terms of work ethic and speed? Does that remind you of John Akii Bua?
Let's say she has a natural talent. That's something inherited. Basically, more than that, I cannot say. From the feedback from training, basically that. Because then, it's still young, as we have been discussing. I've been following her since at the age of 9, gradually, sometimes on and off, for various reasons, because absenteeism, goes to school, then comes back, and I informed that she can doing some training again, then it's another stop, and again, sort of, it's not a continuous thing. At one point, we had also a competition, and she did very well in it. In fact, there was a picture also on the social media with a medal, basically, more or less, is that. But it's a not continuous thing. Communication is there, but it's not all the time continuous. When she can do training, I give the program and we try to do that. Then there is a stop because she goes to school and sort of it's an off and then switch on again, more or less. Just more recently, there was also an infection. So unfortunately, there are issues of hygiene in Africa, which will hinder also talent. And this issue of an infection here, we are discussing about a good 6 months off. Then she had to start walking again. Not running, but first considering to walk again. Because it was in the foot.
We understand that there are certain developmental issues in Africa, and as you rightly mentioned, I think Joy Kelly, who we interviewed as well, is also helping out, in that area. So when you drew up the program for our training, to go forward and become a star, what are the things that you noticed about Godwin Adongo, and what are those good things you discover about her, and how did you tailor that program, to make sure that she goes on to achieve her status in world athletics?
What I did, I try to keep it simple. I try to divide the week between some easy runs, considering her age. An easy run should be around 30 minutes or 4 to 5 kilometers, not more.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a conversational thing like we are discussing now, so just to keep the cardio going. Then she has one day of simple fitness, just some warm-up, sit-ups, push-ups, that stuff. Something that can be done easily at home. Because
Okay.
another story is about the facilities. All her training is done on the soil, on grass. It's no track. She doesn't have that stuff like top athletes or even here in my country. Just half an hour and you've got the track. We don't have track in Uganda where she can train. So it's in the field actually.
Mm-hmm.
So has to be adapted to that. Then she might have a 1 kilometer fast, then rest, cooling down, sort of something adjusted accordingly to suit her age.
Okay, that's great. So yeah, that's brilliant because I understand the Malta weather is actually similar to the tropics in Africa as well. So there's
Yes.
a bit of similarity in there.
There are, yes.
Oh, okay. So you've spent some time from 2022. You've been involved with Godwin Adongo, and all of the things that we are hearing is that she's going to be a star, and we
I
were told
believe
that
so.
she's also being invited to the national team. Are you conscious that you are helping to shape the future?
To be honest, I do my best. Like I do with everyone who asks my assistance at the end. But why not? I am honored to be of a service to her.
Oh,
Mainly that. But it's part of life. Opportunities come, and came out of the blues. But one has to take care also when you have a talent that you need to care how to bring this talent gradually, because too much too soon is a problem.
okay.
And then
Okay.
another thing,
Mhm.
things need to evolve. We are talking. She's going into the age of 12.
Okay.
When we started, it was 1:14. Now we are discussing already 61 seconds. Yesterday, I also asked her father if it is possible to have some hurdles. Why? Because knowing her in heritage. No, we are discussing. She has the speed, but why we cannot introduce hurdles? We can introduce hurdles. At least we can start teaching even by notes, giving notes and stuff. But at least we need the equipment.
Yeah.
And the equipment can be done do it yourself, sort of. I do those even myself at home. I have some hurdles done by myself. Or if she has those, it will help her to improve her running technique, posture, not just to run over hurdles. So one has to see the big picture.
Yeah.
And
So
eventually, if she likes them, why not? She could be there in the future. Why not? But it's still early to say.
okay, that's fantastic. So you've told me some of the challenges, that we have in Africa in actually bringing stars, through. One, healthcare. You have already told me that John Adongo lost 6 months of training because she had infection. You have
Exactly.
just also said something about training equipment, that we don't have enough training equipment and the right environment.
Exactly.
But can she still come through? Because if you compare her story to that of the dad as well, John Akii Bua, nobody gave him any chance. The problems were still there in Uganda, though we thought that by now we would have, moved, quite up there. But does she have a chance in spite of all of these challenges?
Again, it requires a goodwill. I mean, it's a goodwill, what I mean. Because even if we take Mr. Late Akii Bua, he was in poverty, but because he was talented and he was willing, that you can have all the things you want, the best track, the best coach, everything you want. But if there's no will and the right attitude to succeed, then you can have better. You have nothing, and you have the will instead. Because with the will, with the right attitude and the talent, at one point you will succeed.
So when I spoke to her, it does seem that she's got the will, to succeed. She really wants it. And if you were to sit down, let's say you have the opportunity to sit down with the Ugandan sports minister, what are the things that you're going to tell him or her to do about the challenges of raising stars in athletics in Uganda?
Well, first thing I would say is that they have to believe that they are capable, but they need to be flexible to adjust according to the circumstances that will happen. Another thing, sometimes you need to be also creative. Flexible and creativity, they go hand in hand. What I mean, if you go back to headies, you don't have headies, try to get some bamboo and make them. So you'll at least you start getting the skill. Some time ago, a tutor which I had in one of my early courses, he was in a country devastated with war, and they had a thrower. The thrower was throwing stones because he had no facility, but he went to Olympics at that time. This was way back in the 90s. So if there is the will and you get the skill, you can succeed. Because then information nowadays, instead, when you compare with 1972, nowadays, at the switch of a button, like we are discussing, me and you now, it's easier. What I mean easier, if you know how to do your bamboo or whatever, you can mark, you can walk, you can mark the distances, and it's 100 meters, you can mark how far ahead it is, and then you can start. This is just an example, very brief one. So with the goodwill, you can. And this is what I would say, not just to Adongo, but to everyone who is seriously wants to succeed. You need to be flexible, creative, be ready to adjust, and you will do. But you need commitment.
Yeah.
Without commitment and willing, then you are wasting your time and others' time.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes that time means money as well.
Yeah.
It depends. It's a situation.
Yeah. So the Ugandan government, they are building this massive stadium. And
yes, should be ready in 2027 if I got it correctly.
They want to name it the John Akii Bua Stadium, Memorial Stadium. Like you said, from what I'm learning, I'm gaining from what you're telling me, I believe that it is not just the building that they need to focus on.
No.
What are the things that they need to put in there to help the athletes to succeed? And the athletes themselves, how can they make the building to work for them to succeed?
Well, they need, first thing, I think, the building itself, it's a good thing. But then you need instruction, education, the facility is good to have it, but then you need the equipment. If you need to teach how to do certain things, besides you get the skill, then you need at one point also the actual implements, the actual material. You need to get the touch, the physical touch with the actual thing. What I mean, if I go back to my coaching with steeplechase in my country, when it's needed, I get them wet. We fill the pit, and I get them wet. So, because you don't get wet on the day of the competition, you need to learn how to get wet.
Yeah.
And for example, you run without socks. So I won't go to elaborate much, but what I mean, you need to grasp the reality. Because
I
then,
think, I think you need to elaborate. I know what you're saying because we spoke to the family. They need the clothing, they need all the equipment that they need to succeed. So I think for the Ugandan government, they need to, like you just told me before we came, before we went on live, that the government needs to understand that it is not only football that Africa plays. There is space for athletics, and we can win quite a lot and bring glory to Africa via athletics. So
I agree.
Adongo needs socks. She needs
spike shoes in the future, maybe not now, but yes, she needs the proper facility with not just this, for example, and the track itself, but she needs the socks, the kit. I mean, she needs hygiene, education, because not just education in terms learning English, maths, that stuff, but behind that, how you can affront media, pressure.
Yeah.
Pressure, because sometimes, even in my country, we lack this. When they start improving, they start feeling a bit of pressure, they vanish.
Yeah.
Then pressure of exams, pressure of that. Because of my friend stop from training, I will stop. So resilience and the stuff, but it's part of an educational process. So education is important. Education is just not to teach the athlete to be an athlete, but also as a person.
Okay.
In UK, when I was doing a course in the UK university, they go behind that as well, even the after, because sometimes the difficulty is the after, when the sport as an athlete, it's over. If I take, for example, myself, I was a decent athlete in my homeland. I was around in the best 10 athletes at the 10K, etc. But let's say for me, because I was already in coaching, it was easy to switch the switch of being an athlete and keeping on the switch of being a coach. So I kept in the sport just from the other side. But it's not the same thing with every athlete. So that's important education, because what is going to happen after? Because people now are going to be used as an athlete for medals or whatever, and then it's a stop. They need a future. So the Ugandan government has to take care holistically, not just the building the athlete for the medal, and then I don't know you, but what is going to get in return of all this as well. Maybe the athlete can make a good coach, and then will bring more children. You start having your athletic nurseries, athletic clubs. I mean, I don't know exactly how it is set up in Uganda, to be fair. Just I am discussing offhand, sort of. But so you need to think about the return back of the investment you are doing. It's not just the building, also the future. Because the athlete today, in 20 years' time, you don't know, but you need the next ones.
Yeah.
And the story keeps going.
Yeah.
Like that. So That's the approach. Should be long term, not just the building for, let's say, now 3 years time and that's it. No, you need to think as a structure what's going to be done now, and but also the next thing, because now it's now, and tomorrow what will happen? You
Yeah.
stop because technology is moving on. Let's say some years ago, mid in the early 2000, Africa was dominating many events,
Yeah.
long distance.
Yeah.
But now the story has been changing again.
Yeah.
The things are more equal
Mm-hmm.
because of technology as well.
Yeah.
And besides that, education, coaching. I can never stop on this material, but education is giving more coaches. Athletes are becoming coaching, so they know the skill, that they can pass it on. So it's like that. It's a complete cycle, repeating. But you need to move on. So basically, when they're in Uganda, they are looking for something. They need to look long term.
Yeah.
Basically, that's the whole.
Yeah, it's what you just said is so instructive in the sense that when we looked at the story of John Akii Bua, John had all of this experience of winning. He was trained by an English coach,
Yeah.
and he didn't have the opportunity to pass on what he knew to the coming generation, and that was lost. So if you look from 1972, the baton went to Ethiopia,
Exactly.
to Kenya,
Eritrea,
and all of these Horn of Africa countries. So we don't see Uganda producing more John Akii Bua, maybe because we're used to this short-term thinking.
I think there was a shift, to be honest. Let's say there was a shift. What I mean, there was a shift. Mela, the Uganda athletics could be because distances and other stuff. I won't go into the maze because I don't live in Uganda and don't know their structures. But as an outsider, you see that the Uganda athletics has shifted from something which is a shorter distance,
Okay.
but into marathon, half marathon, 10K, 5K. So you are having good athletes at the longer distances competing now, more recently, with Kenya and the other Ethiopia and other African countries, and with the best in the world, and with positive results, even at the Olympics. But when you go back, you find yourself that the 400-meter head is still that one.
That's
Still that
funny.
one.
What you're saying now, I've been wanting an answer, but I don't have it. Maybe you can provide it for us.
Another thing, just
Okay.
the current record of the 400 caddies by the Norwegian. I have correct Norwegian. By Karsten, it's 45 seconds. 2 seconds almost away from John Akii Bua little, which was 47, and the current record is 45. So with all the technology and all that stuff.
And the techniques.
It's just 2 seconds.
Yeah.
This is how to understand how big and remarkable was the talented Mr. John Akii Bua, because it was in 72.
Yeah.
Even the tracks, the material of the tracks themselves changed since then.
Yeah.
Now they are faster tracks.
Yeah.
And even the shoes, they have those super spikes with a sort of spring, so they give you more push. But it's still 2 seconds at the end of the day. So that's how it was hugely talented at that time.
Okay.
And considering that he was not actually training as a 400 hurdle completely all the time. It was a shift. It was a shift when he came, the British coach at the time. He wasn't doing hurdles. They had to convince him to do hurdles.
Yeah. So thank you for this explanation, because I was wondering, John Akii Bua won the Olympics at sub 47 seconds, doing others, right? And Adongo Godwin, the granddaughter, is doing 1,500 meters.
I cannot say. I mean, as I said earlier, it could be somewhere between 1.5, but it can go down to 400.
Okay. But why should
The
not?
issue is,
What is there a difference between Akii Bua, who won world record on others, and Godwin Adongo is not into others?
well, one of the main things is opportunity.
Oh,
Another thing is age.
okay.
Well, we are discussing two things. Now, we cannot compare completely. Now, you've got a gender thing. I mean, no discrimination, but I mean, one is a young girl. The other was already an adult. So that's the first thing to keep in mind.
Okay.
Secondly, one was developed completely. Adongo is not, still in the development process. So we have to keep that in mind.
Okay.
Then, at one point, Mr. Akii Bua was given the chance to start running over hurdles, doing some stuff. Adongo was still early to do certain stuff. I cannot say if Mr. Akii Bua had an access or possibility to do some training at the actual training stadium or something at that time. I don't know. But Adongo has not yet. She always has run in a grass field, sort of like a track, sometimes in the road, sometimes a bit of hill, on the soil, that reddish soil, typical African. Basically that. So to compare better, we need to see if we can have Adongo running at a track first, at a proper 400 marked.
Yeah.
And then also we start doing some running over hurdles, some running 200 meters, some running at 800, 1.5. What I can say here, we did, for example, this was in 2022 here. And actually in May 2022, this was a 1 mile, 1.6K at the age, so it was 3 years ago now. She did them in 5 minutes 19 at the age of 9.
Wow.
So then for 100 meters, as I said, it was 1 minute 14, almost 15. Then we tried an 800 at that time. Again, it was in August then, and she did the 800 in 3 minutes at the age of 9. Yesterday, it was in 61 seconds. So, but again, still on the grass. So when we are discussing on the grass, I don't know your experience about yourself as a runner, but if you are running on the grass or on the soil, your feet works differently.
Yeah.
If you are running on the road, works differently.
Yeah.
And if you are running on a track, it works also differently.
Yeah.
So we need to see two more similar situations to get a better idea.
These are amazing statistics that you're putting through. So if I get you right, Adongo Godwin can develop into many areas that we just don't know yet.
No, exactly. So the door is still open. I can close a bit, saying that should be somewhere between middle distance into long sprint, because 400 meters is a sprint, but we can consider it as a long sprint.
Okay.
Even the 800 nowadays, with the record of 140 of Rhodesia, it's a long sprint. Here ran 50 seconds twice.
Yeah.
So it's not an endurance. You've got an element of endurance, for sure. That's just to be correct here. But when you press on it, you find yourself that it's an extended sprint, sort of, because actually our system shifts after 10 seconds, starts to shift, and aerobic starts flowing in. So you are starting using oxygen.
Yeah.
Then it is the emphasis, how much oxygen is being used, depending the speed you are using and the distance itself. Okay, the percentage will move up and down depending the distance. So we need to see a dongo and a proper track with a good test to have a better picture. But for now, since we're working together, it's somewhere between middle distance or a longer sprint. I cannot say that she would be a good 5K runner or 10K, because even going back to her age, you cannot say, at age of 9, give her 5K, 10K. I mean, it's not fair.
It's gradual.
We need to respect her age.
Yeah.
For her age, longer she can do as a race, maybe 3K.
Yeah.
At the moment. When she is 14, we might consider a 5K if she wants to try something longer. But if she has talent for shorter running, we need to use that. And then when we are aware, as we discussed, that in Uganda we saw a shift more into longer distances. So what's happening down there? On the shorter, maybe there is talent, but it's not being helped or given the chance to practice or to try themselves at the shorter. Maybe someone is good as Mr. Akii Bua, but still he's not aware. And he's doing enough, I don't know, he's doing a 3K or something else. Because the mentality is different.
Yeah. Now, I think, when I was growing up in Lagos, so Nigerians were into 100 meters and they were doing quite well. And we found that because what you're saying now is bringing quite a lot of memories back. We find out that because these guys do not have a program that actually paced them at the right time, they go off on the circuits. They have to do the circuits just to make money. So by the time the competition comes around, they have burnout and they're not able to perform, like the rest of them.
They are already tired.
But then we saw the program that Jamaica did. Jamaica said, instead of allowing our athletes, to burn out on the circuits, we are going to create a local program. And we're going to make sure that these guys are well taken care of. Sports science, diet, hygiene, and technology. Exactly. We're going to bring it together. And we got Usain Bolt from that.
Exactly.
Is this something that Uganda needs to look into doing as well?
Yes, definitely. Even Bahamas, we're doing something similar.
Okay.
Then there is Mauritius. I used to know that from there as well. They were implementing a program of run, jump, and throw, besides the hygiene, the education. So they are giving the young athletes, children at schools, the chance to do run, jump, throw.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if we are discussing about running, it could be you run for a long jump, which is still running. I mean, you are running 100 meters, 60 meters, 30 meters, but you can be even running for 1 minute. But it's still running. They are giving the opportunity. So they get a pole in their arms. So they learn to run with a pole, even with a bamboo. I don't know, but if you don't give them the opportunity, then you cannot expect to have a long jumper, a sprinter, or the easy thing, like with many of African countries, since there are a lot of stories as well that they go running to school, they go back. So what comes naturally then? It comes naturally. They will go for 5K, 10K, 3K, steepnesses, but the problem starts going 800 downwards, not upwards, but downwards.
Yeah.
Because it's more natural, the environment for them moving up that way.
Yeah.
But if they are giving more opportunity on the other side, maybe you have another good athlete, but still it's not giving the opportunity. once during a course with this university in UK, they got a medal from an athlete, a the skeleton figure. They go with the snowboard, they fly in the air, they stay like a statue and go down, sort of like that. I'm not a big expert of that sport, just to be honest. But they did an interview with her and they told her how it come up that you are doing this sport and so that stuff. They told him they did a sort of spot check. They have those talent spotters. They did some tests and they find that this girl could do well in the future in this sport, particular sport, and they got the medal.
Yeah.
And this was the British.
Wow.
Because you need to go to the schools. Children are in the schools.
Yeah.
You spot them from the schools. You do you adapt the competition for children because they are still children. They want to have fun. They have to teach them that it's not just football. Then again, if you think from another perspective, athletics, if we take run, jump, throw, that stuff, it helps for other sports. If you take gymnastics, helps you for flexibility. And now maybe pole vault, high jump, it's like that. So one, if you think with a wider picture, it will be easier to integrate than the other things.
Yeah.
And then you get it.
In fact.
And then another thing, also the talent transfer, an issue even with us, to be honest. But what is talent transfer? Let's say I have a footballer, young boy, but he's really fast with the ball.
Yeah.
He's at the right spot there? Probably not. Try him in the 100 or in the 200. Maybe he's another, let's say, he's in Bolt.
Yeah.
I mean, that can be done with every country, not just Uganda and even ourselves.
Yeah.
So, because sometimes what happens, because parents want my children doing football, another one because I like that. But then you have to ask yourself, what you got, inherit. I mean, if I take myself, when I was a boy, I used to like the 800 as a race. But it wasn't my race. I was more suited for a 5K and 10K. So that was my area eventually. But what I mean, that is something what you wish, but what you actually, you are blessed with it.
Yeah.
You see, so one has to do that homework.
Yeah.
Every country.
If the Ugandan sports minister is listening to you, there's a whole lot of things that they can learn and do. I come from a marketing communications background, and branding. And I do know that Jamaica made a lot of name and money from the rise of Usain Bolt than they did in football.
It's the give and take.
Yeah, in football, because Adidas, who eventually signed Usain Bolt, had to go to sign him when he was 14, when he was in the school games, because they could see the talent, they could see where it was going to lead them. And if you remember, Adidas was like going down in terms of branding equity. And Nike was this way up, right? And they only needed to sign Usain Bolt to just come back, to the same level. So I believe that African governments need to understand that athletics can also be a foreign exchange earner, and it can actually help the whole economy. Because if the government begin to understand that it can help the whole economy and help the communities that produces the stars, then there can be economic gain. Because I know that when there's economic gain, the government is interested.
Yes, let's say from another perspective, what can gain from it? Not just the athletes, but there is also another big open window. What is it? It is about sports tourism.
Oh, yeah.
Sports tourism. Many people can come not just to watch competitions, but also those who are actually athletes themselves. that may be moving to Uganda every now and then during the whole year for various reasons, for training camps. Let's say Ethiopia, Kenya, they are flourishing now and keeping increasing with these training camps. I am sure that Uganda also have their altitude. Somewhere I know that they have also a track at altitude.
Yeah.
So why not to build?
And they also have a name like John Akii Bua, to brand. If they brand this name really well,
you can brand.
Everyone's gonna come.
Exactly. You can.
Okay.
I could be a stadium. I could be a hotel near the stadium. They at least come in. They can train. They mix. They bring other knowledge with them.
Or they can design the Akii Bua program, Akii Bua running program for people to go through.
Why not? You can publish that, but with a goodwill.
Yeah.
With a goodwill.
Yeah.
Because at least, like those who are professional, if I take in Europe, there is that altitude center in St. Moritz. Many top athletes, European, they go there.
Yeah.
It's in the mountains, high altitude. They have the hotel. You go down from the hotel and you go to the track.
Yeah.
You eat, sleep, train. So can be done in Uganda.
Okay.
But again, you need hygiene, education. So it's not something that
infrastructure. You need infrastructure to get it done. Yeah.
You need long-term planning.
Long-term planning.
And cannot be rushed.
Yeah. So look, this has been a wonderful session with you. I totally enjoy your views and your outlook, and especially the fact that you're doing this out of passion. The family of Akii Bua they've not got any money to pay you, but you're doing it because you want to make sure that a star comes out of Uganda. So for us to bring this to an end, this session, what would you say about Godwin Adongo, the granddaughter of Akii Bua, to everybody listening to us, why they should support her and why we should look forward to seeing a star in the future?
Well, I believe that she has a natural talent, but the talent itself, as I discussed earlier, it's not enough. You need the whole system to support a talent. I'm going to repeat myself again, but without this proper support, the talent itself, there are limitations. Can succeed, but there are limitations. You need to facilitate the talent to flourish.
Yeah.
Maybe, let's say, in the near future, she might get a scholarship, etc., and will make Uganda proud. Not just even academically, will be giving back something to the sport, to the country. But first, she needs the gift. The gift to her, then it's a give and take. But now for her, she needs that someone to give that helping hand. So she can keep progressing.
Yeah.
We are talking again 61 seconds at the age of 11 now.
Yeah.
So in 2 years' time, what she will be doing?
Fantastic.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
With proper support.
Yeah.
And
this is great. So our viewers, please, if you're watching this from anywhere, in Africa, we have big brands, we have multinational brands, we have local brands, we have the government, and we have high net worth individuals. Please, there's a whole lot you can do for Godwin Adongo. Like Mario PISANI has mentioned, she needs a program. She needs to be facilitated to succeed. So giving her a scholarship, I know, is nothing to a lot of these brands, and for her to sustain the next 2 years. So please, if you're watching, think about it and do something about this, because we need Africa to produce more talent, and especially Uganda. They need to produce more talent. Since Akii Bua, Uganda has never had anyone that is the top of the food chain in athletics, in football, in whatever it is. So if we see a talent, we need to support it. So on that note, I'd like to thank you so much, Mario PISANI. It's been a
Welcome.
fantastic session with you.
Thank you.
So I hope that we speak soon when we see, progress on Godwin Adongo's story. So I hope you enjoy the rest of the day.